So I heard QUAVO HUNCHO. After all the success that the Migos has, after everything that they've done and accomplished, and done to influence and push forward the culture, where could you go wrong one of them having their own project? Quavo showed me he's the star member of the Migos. He's a legendary hitman, hookman, and he's contributed a lot, not just to his group, the Migos, but to music and the culture in general, being a part of really huge songs, not only in the hip hop spectrum, but in the pop spectrum. Recently named pop artist for the Grammys this year, Post Malone, with his Beer Bongs and Bentley's album. But Quavo was on a song with him last year that popped. Congratulations. Well, that was actually in 2016, but it popped more in the year 2017. His contribution to tracks like I'm the One with Justin Bieber, Chance the Rapper, and DJ Khaled, Portland from Drake. All that being said, his more recent contributions, his more recent performances have been a little bit formulaic, and they've troubled me in the sense of me not knowing where he's going to go in the future. Take his Travis Scott collab, Huncho Jack Jack Huncho, where they pretty much go back and forth throughout the entire tape. Not only on that collaborative effort, but also on Culture 2 with the Migos, which was Migos, in my opinion, trying to replicate a moment as big as a Versace, a t-shirt, or a Bad and Bougie for an entire hour and 45 minutes. Throwing shit at a wall until they found something that stuck. Quavo's technique or generalized style on tracks like Beast and Work Hard from Culture 2, for instance, had me worried about whether or not he could carry his own project or even remotely entertain, much less try to extend himself over 19 tracks for a duration damn near longer than 60 minutes. And after hearing this album, it just confirmed all my fears. Now, just because I think this album is bad doesn't mean I'm calling Quavo a bad artist. I still think he's a necessity to the rap and hip hop world, and I definitely think he's got a lot to contribute. I just think when he's accompanied with members Offset and Takeoff, it's actually able to offset his repetitive nature to the point where you don't notice it as much. Quavo also doesn't seem to like surprises on this album, because there's never a moment where I'm surprised by his technical rapping ability or his, want to be a little bit more charismatic, or want to be a little bit more witty, or want to be a little bit more entertaining or wacky with his delivery. I mean, generally, if you go to an artist, right, and they don't have any lyrical quality to them, a lot of them can compensate by having a melody, but even the beats on this album are pretty bare. That doesn't mean they're not produced very well. There's no moment in them that's either cinematic or big or bright or poppin'. It's just a runtime. Why is this oven mitt still in my pocket? He seems to just be putting a comma after every other word or so and slightly raising and lowering the tone of his voice. It's not like an Offset, who has one of those styles that can generally be found entertaining on instrumentals because of his less rigid style, less rigid voice, more fluid rapping, even though he decides to throw lines about his Patek in every other bar. It's tolerable. Now, Quavo does have control all over this album. There's never a moment where he feels amateurish over any of the beats, but that's partially due to his very stiff delivery and the lack of punching power the production actually has. A track like Champagne Rose is just Madonna for the most part, acting as this spirit, looming and dancing in the back of your subconscious while you're taking your sixth shot of Douce. It subdues the track so much that by the time we get to Cardi B's feature, it does nothing to bring out more of the song. It's just kind of flat by that point. Uncho Dreams is a pretty clever response to Barbie Dreams off Nicki Minaj's Queen album, where Quavo kind of exposes the true nature of their relationship, even going as far as to reference the ATL scene with T.I. and Evan Ross, where they tell their uncle or insinuate that they both got some ass that night before, but he doesn't believe it. It's kind of like him saying that the audience is hearing this song, in no way is they're gonna believe it. This track is kind of comical in the way that it describes the relationship and Nicki Minaj's sensitivity and her immaturity in a way, by referencing Drake's song In My Feelings when he says, "Nicki, do you love me?" Even going as far as to reference her relationship with Safari. Even with all that, it seems none of that created a moment for Quavo. I don't see anyone talking about this song. I don't see anyone actually caring about it, being surprised that this is here. I mean, am I just the one that didn't know this was a thing? The Kid Cudi track is actually pretty good. I like Kid Cudi's delivery. He's really grown on me in the last couple years, especially with his addition to the features of a lot of hip hop, more modern cuts where he's not trying to go off and do his own solo rock album or whatever that was. But he talks a lot about his depression in a kind of triumphant way, from a more positive light, not being overtaken by it. Quavo kind of tries to talk about being marginalized and being separated, but ends up falling prey to his own tendencies again when he goes back into rapping about money, and that's a good portion of his topical design for a large portion of this album is money, women, which, don't get me wrong, it's been I guess a safety crutch for many rappers to discuss or talk about for, rap's entirety, but there are people that have come out of that. It seems that's Quavo's MO since Migos has started. I know a lot of y'all were interested in my thoughts on RERUN, but I honestly have no real opinion of it. I mean, it just sounds like a bonus track from Huncho Jack Jack Huncho, to be honest. It's nothing special, in my opinion. Fuck 12 is easily one of the worst written songs of 2018. Quavo, you got the nerve to use Malcolm X intro and not even try to go like an inch below the surface. And Big Bro is probably the most controversial song on this album, due to a lot of people assuming that Quavo was in some way trying to diss the pill community, or people with the depression community, assuming that Quavo was in some way trying to diss the depression community or diss Lil Peep by way of his lines about fentanyl and overdosing and dying as a rock star, something that kind of describes Lil Peep very well. And while a lot of people thought that this was him attacking Lil Peep in the grave and him having no honor or no code, and I do think the choice of words was very poor, and Quavo didn't probably put much thought into the song itself. As a song, it's not that great anyway. I think people are really just being overly sensitive about that, because the point of the track is Quavo being a big bro to the young rap industry, all the little rappers running around coming up. Quavo saying, I got your back, you don't need to worry about that. He gives these what if scenarios about someone getting their chain taken, and him saying you don't need to do all that, it's not worth it. It's just very odd coming from Quavo, especially when last year he was in the news for fighting people and jumping people. I don't understand really, but at least Quavo's not in prison. He's not making moves that I would say are too questionable. So I guess he could be someone's OG. I mean, he definitely has been in the rap game long enough. But when it comes to the diss toward Lil Peep, I just think Quavo used a poor choice of words, and he was just using it as an example to describe what could happen for people who don't have a leading example. But again, is Quavo really the best example? I don't know. A good portion of this album to me is just bogged in even the Sway Lee effect. Sway Lee and Quavo have this thing in common where they're both preferred on other people's songs for their features. Both really great hook men, contribute a lot to their group, but when given the opportunity to work solo, they prove how little they have to offer in terms of an entire project itself. I mean, this is literally, I feel like, what you would get if you gave Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks his own story. Imagine the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with just one turtle, or Marvel with just the Hulk, and we just hear the Hulk in the booth. Smash, smash, smash. That's Quavo. Overall, I don't really think this album is trash, as I do still think it has some value. There are some tracks on here that I'm sure people could tolerate, but for the most part, it just blends together. It's way too one-dimensional. Quavo seems to be too cool to actually put effort into his own album, and I don't really feel he takes advantage of the opportunity that he's been given to have so much mystery around you and then come out with your own solo tape to be able to express yourself in the size that people don't know about you. I feel this would have been a great moment, but he just doesn't take that opportunity for, I don't know, maybe that decision was based in the fear of not being accepted if he did, or not understanding him. I don't know what it could have been, but I feel like he missed a big opportunity, especially in this climate where people strongly relate to the artist. His stone cold auto-tune delivery doesn't make him come off as robotic as like a Nav. Quavo doesn't come off as generic as maybe a Nav, but it definitely seems like he's a Nav with a Windows update. Again, no hate. If you like it, keep bumping it, because I think there are some tracks on here that I could see people enjoying. Just me personally, I don't see anything in it. It's just kind of blah. See y'all next time. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.